This is Fitness Blender's Strong Body Bootcamp. In this routine, we're going to go through 11 different intervals or 11 different motions, and we're doing each one for 40 seconds on and 20 seconds off. Now, 20 seconds is going to be your break moving on to that next exercise, and we're only going to be doing each one of these for one round through. Now, you're going to need an open piece of wall for one of our exercises, and you're also going to need some dumbbells. If you don't have a dumbbell, that's perfectly fine. You can always substitute it out for some other kind of weighted object. Let's go ahead and get started with our first exercise, the squat chop. So you're going to need a dumbbell or some other kind of weighted object for this one. Let's go ahead and get ready. And start up. Moving only in one direction, you're going to do a nice diagonal chop across your body from down to the outside of your thigh to up across that opposite shoulder. Keep those arms relatively straight. You can have a little bit of a bend in those elbows, but try to keep those arms as straight as you can. Nice rotation to those shoulders as you squat down nice and low, and then a little bit of rotation at the top off the opposite direction. Just make sure the entire time you're keeping that back nice and flat. You don't let those shoulders round forward. You don't let that chest arch back at the top or the bottom. I've got just about 10 seconds left to go. Just keep this motion going. Then we're going to switch over and do the same thing on the opposite side. And go ahead and let it relax. Take a little bit of a break. We're going to switch over, do the same thing on the opposite side, same exact motion, just moving that diagonal pattern across the opposite way. Now for these 20-second breaks in between exercises, make sure you don't stop moving. You want to at least be shuffling those feet back and forth, preferably even jogging in place. So let's go ahead and get ready for that opposite side. And start up. So same exact diagonal pattern, that chop motion, squatting down nice and low at the bottom. Get that weight out to the outside of those thighs, then up across that shoulder. Nice high extension on those arms. Remember, try to keep those arms as straight as you can, just a little tiny bit of a bend in those elbows. Almost done, just about 10 seconds left. Keep it going. Keep that back nice and flat. Keep those lungs open. And let it relax. Good job. Let's go ahead and move on to our next exercise, which is going to be a wall sit plus a ventral raise. So you need those dumbbells, and you need to have a wall to sit up against. Now we're going to be doing a ventral raise on this one, which is those arms straight in front of that chest. You can either do this with your palms facing down towards the ground or palms facing in like Kelly's going to do. So let's go ahead and get ready. And start up. Go and squat down on that wall. Get those hips nice and low. Try to get those knees as close to a 90-degree angle as you can. Then start that ventral raise. Those arms come straight up in front of that chest. If you want to, you can bring them all the way over your head, but you only need to bring them up to about shoulder height. Then slowly back down right next to those hips, and then right back up again. Just make sure that motion is nice and slow under control. You don't want to swing those arms. Just a slow contraction up and a slow drop back down to that original position. We're almost done. Keep those lungs open. Get a couple more repetitions if you can. Just a few more seconds left. And let it relax. Good job. Go ahead and stand up. We're getting ready for that next exercise, which is going to be an alternating lunge plus a curl. Now make sure you're choosing the proper amount of weight for each one of these exercises. You want to make sure you're giving yourself a really nice, good challenge by the time you're done with this. Each one of these exercises is probably going to use a different weight, so you want to make sure that you have a really good selection of dumbbells to choose from. So let's go ahead and get ready for this next exercise. And start up. So just a traditional alternating lunge, stepping forward with one leg. Make sure that weight stays evenly dispersed between those feet. And then a curl at the same time. So as you drop down into that lunge, those dumbbells are going to come up for that curl. Make sure you're keeping that form nice and tight for that curl as well, so that upper body's perfectly straight up and down. As you curl that hand up to your shoulder, don't let those elbows come forward. You want to keep those elbows right next to your rib cage, so it's straight underneath that shoulder the entire time. Just keep that motion going, keep those lungs open, making sure you're alternating every single time with that lunge, making sure you have a different foot forward each time. Got just a few seconds left until we're done. And let it relax. Good job. Let's go ahead and move on to our next exercise, which is going to be an overhead tricep extension. Now, Kelly's going to be doing this exercise with just one dumbbell. You can do the same exact thing that Kelly's doing, or if you want to, you can switch to having a dumbbell in each hand. The exercise is almost identical that way. It's just whatever is more comfortable for you. So let's go ahead and get ready. And start up. Nice straight back, knees slightly bent. Keep those elbows as much as you can straight above that shoulder. Depending on how tight that shoulder is, how tight those ligaments and muscles are in that shoulder, you might have a problem getting that elbow directly above your shoulder joint, but that's perfectly fine. Just try to keep it back as far as you can so that elbow straight above that shoulder, getting a nice full extension of that arm over top of your head, then slowly back down behind you as low as is comfortable. You want to try to get as much range of motion out of that elbow as you can. Now, as you get more and more tired with this, and as you try to pull those elbows back more and more, you're going to have a tendency to tilt that chest. So keep those abs nice and tight to keep that chest straight up and down. We're almost done with this. And let it relax. Good job. Let's go ahead and move on to that next exercise, which is going to be a traditional push-up. So go ahead and drop down onto the ground for this. So we're going to be doing 40 seconds straight through with this one. So try to do the hardest version you possibly can. If you need to switch halfway through, that's perfectly fine. If you need to start with just a half push-up and only do that, or take breaks in the middle, that's fine as well. Let's go ahead and get ready. Drop out in that push-up position and start up. Like I said, if you can, start with a full push-up. Try to drop it down, get as much range of motion as you possibly can. If you feel like your form is starting to suffer, if you can't quite control it, can't quite get enough range of motion on it, then go ahead and drop down onto those knees, do that push-up from there. Otherwise, if it's still too hard for you, you can always take a few second break to try to help yourself kind of recover a little bit and then try to push out a few more repetitions. But just keep it going. Really focus on keeping that back nice and flat, straight line from that shoulder down to that knee or all the way down to those ankles if you're doing that full version. Try to make sure you're getting that chest as low to the ground as you possibly can. And let it relax. Good job. Let's go ahead and move on to our next exercise, which is going to be high knees. Let's go ahead and stand up. Remember, keep those feet moving back and forth. You don't want to completely relax. You want to have at least a little bit of motion going, preferably even doing something like jogging in place. Just keep those feet moving. We've got a few seconds left until we start into these high knees. Let's go ahead and get ready. And start up. Drive those knees nice and quick. You're doing 40 seconds straight through, so make sure you're pushing yourself as hard as you possibly can. Get those knees up at least to hip height, higher if you can. Make sure you're moving those feet as fast as possible, barely letting that foot touch the ground before you're pulling it right back up again. Keep those lungs open. Keep all those muscles through your entire body nice and tense, especially those core muscles, making sure you're contracting those abs, those obliques in that lower back. We're just a little over halfway. Just keep it going. Keep those lungs open. Keep those legs moving as fast as you can. We're almost done. And let it relax. Good job. Nicely done. Let's go ahead and move on to our next exercise, which is going to be an overhead dumbbell punch. Now, you can do this with dumbbells if you want to. Just makes it that much harder. Otherwise, you can do it with just body weight. So Kelly's using a relatively light weight, only about 3 pounds here, so don't use anything too heavy. Now, you've got just a few seconds left until we get started, so go ahead and get ready. And start up. Hands up above those shoulders, punching back and forth, one arm at a time. Rotate those shoulders slightly, a little bit of a bend in those knees. Make sure you're contracting those abdominal muscles, keeping that chest nice straight up and down. Try not to lean back with that chest, trying to arch that lower back. Keeping all those core muscles contracted, keeping those thigh muscles contracted as well. Just make sure you're moving as quick as you can with those hands. Nice and quick, just jab it straight out in front of your body, just a little bit above your head or about eye level, and then pull it right back nice and quick. Should burn those arms like crazy. Just keep it going. We only have a few seconds left to go. 5 seconds left. And let it relax. Good job. All right, let's go and move on to our next exercise, which is going to be a Captain Morgan with a lateral raise. So basically, you're lifting one leg up, holding it static, at the same time as doing a lateral raise with those dumbbells. Now, because you're doing a lateral raise, arms straight, you need a little bit less weight than you would with like an overhead press. So use something relatively light. We're switching those legs halfway through. Let's go ahead and get ready. And start up. So one knee comes up, hold that knee at hip height. Those arms come straight out to your sides to at least shoulder height, a little bit higher if you can, just whatever feels comfortable on that shoulder joint. Right back down next to those thighs, then right back up again. Just keep that core nice and tight. Try to keep everything as stationary as you can, except for those arms, moving really nice and slow and under control with those arms. Let's go and switch those feet. That opposite knee comes up, same exact position, knee about hip height. Just hold it there nice and static. Only moving those arms. Got just about 10 seconds left. Just keep it going. Just 5 more seconds. Almost done. And let it relax. Good job. All right, let's go and move on to our next exercise. We're going to be doing a combination. This is going to be 2 jumping jacks plus 4 uppercuts. So it's going to be 2 real quick jumping jacks and then 2 uppercuts on each arm, moving as quickly as you possibly can. So let's go ahead and get ready for this one. We'll be starting up in just a few seconds. Go ahead and get ready. And start up. 2 jumping jacks, 4 uppercuts. Nice quick motion. Moving those arms and those legs as quick as you can for that jumping jack, making sure you're keeping everything under control, those core muscles nice and tight, those arms and legs nice and tight. Then go into that uppercut, making sure you're getting a really nice tight swing, really use those obliques to rotate those shoulders, really get into it, punching as hard as you possibly can, making sure everything's staying as solid as possible. Just keep that motion going back and forth as quickly as you possibly can. Move those feet nice and fast, move those hands nice and fast. Only have a few seconds left to go. Just 5 seconds left. Almost done. Keep pushing through at 100% and let it relax. Good job. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next and last exercise. This is going to be a nice deep squat with a pass, a dumbbell pass. So you can either use a dumbbell, any other kind of weighted object, or again, you can use just your body weight. You don't even necessarily have to use a weight. It just makes it just a little bit harder for those shoulders and a little bit more resistance for those legs. So let's go ahead and get ready. And start up. Dumbbell at your chest. As you squat, press that dumbbell straight out in front of your chest. As you come back up from that squat, that dumbbell comes back right next to your chest. Just keep alternating back and forth, making sure you're getting a really, really deep squat every single time. That is the main goal on this, is to try to get those hips down as low as you possibly can. Really, really push that range of motion, but only go as far as is comfortable on those knees and those hips. Make sure you're keeping that back perfectly flat, especially because you're using weight with this one. You need to make sure you're protecting that back by keeping it nice and solid. Got just a few seconds left to go. Just keep it going. Try to get one more full repetition in there if you can. And let it relax. Nicely done. That is our last repetition, which means this workout is complete. Good job.